Is Aiken Grade 1 actually hard for native speakers? Well, today I'm going to find out. I have here the reading section of the Aiken Grade 1 exam, and I'm going to be taking it, grading it, and then giving you my honest assessment on it. What I have here is a practice test. Now, it is the full test, but I will only be taking the reading portion today, as I don't really have a way to grade the other portions. So we're going to be doing the reading today, and we're going to find out if it's really difficult for a native speaker. So let's get into it. Now, before I begin, I do want to give a little bit of context. I did do some abnormally difficult English and reading courses in high school, and I've taken several college English courses. Now, here's the thing, right? I did really well in those. So my assessment may or may not be an accurate reading of what the average native English speaker in America could actually perform on this test. So not only will I be giving my grade and giving you my thoughts, I will also give my assessment of whether or not I think certain problems would actually be answerable by the average populace of America, or if it's just a one-off that I happen to know because I'm decently good at English. So we'll be going over those things too, but without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to slave away at this test for the next 20 minutes, and let's see how I do. Okay, so I finished the Aiken Grade 1 beginning portion, the multiple choice / reading portion, and let's go over what I thought. First and foremost, before we get this graded, I just want to say that I'm very impressed. I'm extremely impressed with anyone that decides to take on this test, and even more so that gets a good grade on it, because this is rough. This is rough. I can tell you with absolute certainty this is some advanced English, and ironically enough, a good portion of this would probably never be used in day-to-day speech. So let's get into it. So first, I did do the initial multiple choice section, and then I did the fill in the blank, like the paragraph section. I did not do the essay, the big old reading excerpt section. Yeah, but regardless, let's get into it. So first off, we had this section, all right, and question number 1 was, when the mayor was asked about his tax plan, he blanked. As a result, no one was sure what his policy really was. These options, consolidated, equivocated, alleviated, and emanated, bruh, that's insane. Like, these are some big ass English words. These are not your everyday encountered words. Now, I know alleviated, we've already gone on into that. I've made videos, reels about it, specifically even talking about the Aiken, so I find it cool that I see it on here. But equivocated, that was what my answer was, and to be 100% honest with you, question number 1 off the bat, I'm actually not 100% sure on. I know a good portion of these words, and my English vocabulary, is huge. It's not just the normal native vocabulary. I'd say I have a decent arsenal of words above what even the average English speaker may have. That's just my opinion. Number 2, we got the general decided to send more troops to the border to blank the army's defenses. He hoped to show strength would prevent further attacks. Now, the options were lament, spar, mutter, and bolster. The answer is bolster for that one. To bolster your defense, bolster your troops, that's a common phrase. So that's definitely the answer for that one. After a long discussion, the board members were unable to reach an agreement. It was therefore decided to blank the decision until the next meeting. Defer, which means, to postpone it. The other options were elucidate, solicit, and dissipate. So dissipate is when something basically, dissipate is when something like it spreads out and disappears, essentially. So for example, gas dissipates. Say that, when someone's smoking, for example, the smoke is very concentrated right in the moment when they blow it out, but then it dissipates quickly. It clears the room. It dissipates. It dissipates into the atmosphere. Solicit is like what they do door to door. It's like selling stuff where you go and you try and knock on someone's door and you sell. So like people in America, for example, will put up no solicitors on their door sometimes, which means don't go be a door to door salesman. They don't want to hear that stuff. And then elucidate, which I'm not going to lie to you, I've never seen that word before. So once again, this just goes to show you, like, some of this is actually bizarre. I will be learning things today because anything that I didn't know, I knew most of it, but anything I didn't know, like for example, elucidate, I will be Googling and I will be adding that to my vocabulary. So look, we all learned something. It's pretty cool. I'm not going to go through all of these, but some notable words that I did notice are things like auspicious, fantastic word, and it sounds so satisfying. Contrite, we've gone over that one. After she was told that she would be punished for taking her brother's toys away from him, the little girl was blank. She apologized and promised not to do it again. Contrite, it means you're very sorry. That one I've already done a video on. But so many bombs were dropped on the city during the war that nearly half of it was blank. It took years to rebuild the numerous buildings that had been destroyed, obliterated. Once again, a fantastic English word. I love this word. It means to like absolutely destroy. There's nothing left. It is obliterated. Staunch, dearth, entailed, convergence, coaxed, bolsterous, lustrous, perennial, incisive. These are all fantastic words, and I do highly recommend adding these to your vocabulary before you take the test. This is something I really want to focus on. One of the things that gave me this idea was in our community, we had a few people who were going to be taking Aiken tests, and I was kind of giving them some advice, and me and Shun were giving them some advice, but it did occur to me, it's like, at the end of the day, like I know natural English, right? And I know English very well, but I'm relying solely on Shun for what's actually in the Aiken. And that's totally fine. My man knows his stuff, but I wanted to bolster my knowledge a little bit, learn a little bit about this, to learn exactly how best to help them. So that is something we do in our community. That is something that I want to try to help people with. So that is what we do in videos on and discussions in our community. If you would like to join, we have more information in the bio. But regardless, I want to go over a few phrases real quick. So it goes on from like the words to the phrases, and some of these phrases are really good. Identify with. That's a really good phrase. It means that you are like making yourself like it, like you relate to it. You relate to it. So like for example, I identify with other gym bros, right? Because I relate to them. They're in the gym grinding out. I'm in the gym grinding out. I identify with them. A common usage of this would be to identify with characters, like in a book or whatnot, or in a movie. And as it makes the point of saying in this line, if you don't identify with a character in a book or a movie, it's harder to pay attention. Going off of that, we have the following section, which is the little paragraph, part 2, little paragraph section. And man, this one was rough. I find these tests to be very rough in general, not because, even if the English is kind of hard in this one, I didn't have too much of a problem with it, but even for an easy test, the thing is that reading all that, who's trying to read all that? Who's trying to read all that, bro? Like, dude, come on now. Look, I mean, I understand, like, the purpose of having, like, a paragraph. And don't get me wrong, this is great. This is great practice. But, man, I mean, the asteroid that collided with Earth, ants and algae, like, the Italian artist, Jacob Lagozzi. Bro, how do you know how hard it is to pay attention to something like this? This is not your, like, bro. I don't identify with any of this. This is not interesting at all. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not. So I did mortally hate reading that. In America, we have what we call the ACT and the SAT. Those are two tests that you take after high school, and it kind of gives you a grade that colleges can then look at, and it determines, like, to some extent, how high of a college you can get into, scholarships, that kind of thing. They have massive portions like this. Very much harder, in my opinion, on the ACT, the English and reading portions, and I've had to take it several times, and man, like I say, like, just reading through all that is impossible. But regardless, without further ado, let's get this graded, see how I did. Okay, so we have our score back, and so of the portion I did, the reading portion, I got 96% correct. Now I want to clarify, most of it I knew. There's maybe a 3 to 5%. There's maybe like a 10% of that I had a gut instinct. I was pretty sure, but I wasn't 100% positive, and you could not get me to say the definition of the word. Most of them, however, I did know fairly well. Now, the moment of truth. Would most natives get this correct? And so I actually went to some people I know, and I got their second opinion people of various age groups to get the whole spectrum on whether or not they knew a lot of these words and whether or not the majority of Americans would know a lot of these words. And the resounding answer is yes and no. Let me explain. So, a good portion of these words, the average, decently educated, smart American probably knows. Words like envoy, defer, bolster, entailed, coaxed, boisterous, that kind of word. The average, decently smart American probably would know, whether that be college age or beyond. However, there are a few words in here that it seems to be the resounding consensus, and I completely agree with this. Americans, the average American would have no idea. Words like equivocated, never heard it ever said before, probably have never read it or seen it in a book, and the average person, or even seen it in a movie, you know, the average person probably has not. Even in sophisticated writing, I've never seen that word, and the average American, once again, probably has not. There are a few words in here that are definitely unique, and even if I know them, the average American definitely does not. That goes without question. A lot of these words are relatively known, but once again, these are still definitely at the harder end of the spectrum. So I once again want to reiterate that if you are, you know, a Japanese speaker who is trying to become fluent at English, and you are taking on the task of going for the Aiken Grade 1, give yourself a pat on the back. That is huge. This is not an easy test. That is difficult. If you are taking on that challenge, and even more so if you get a good grade, I'm so proud of you. That is a massive accomplishment. This is not an easy task. You should give yourself a pat on your back, right? As a second language, knowing even like a third of these words is extremely impressive, and I could not be more proud. So that is amazing. That is absolutely remarkable, and you should be absolutely extremely proud of yourself. Now, the last thing I do want to go over, and this is once again just a core element of this channel, is would you ever hear an American say most of these words? You could read it. You might see it in writing. A lot of people might write some of these words to sound more smart, but most of these words would never be said out of the average native speaker's mouth. Like ever. You would never hear someone say auspicious, contrite, maybe occasionally auspicious, contrite, equivocated, staunch, boisterous, probably never. A lot of these words, probably never. This is a topic I'm going to go into more depth on in the future. It is something I'm going to pursue knowledge of because it really interests me, and I would like to know how to better help both my community members and my followers. So I'll be going over the Aiken, the TOEIC, I'll be doing more research on those, and you'll probably see me doing more videos where I attempt to take the tests, most likely the full text next time. So thank you so much for watching. Those are my thoughts. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Give me your thoughts, opinions, questions, whatever it is. Thank you so much for watching. Be proud of yourself. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.